Hey guys, how y'all doing? You're briefly going to see me, and then I'm going to go off the video because, really, quite frankly, you don't need to be watching me. So I'm going to be talking about this first DBQ, which is about Mongols. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to set up how I would approach it. Limit of 5 minutes per video, so this might very well be like a two-part series. Anyway, so with no further ado, say goodbye to me, and let's start looking at the actual DBQ. All right, so what do we got? So we have document-based question essay number 1, 45 minutes. The rubric that we're looking at here, this rubric is pretty much the same as the one we previously had, historical defensible thesis, which is either comparison or continuity and change over time or cause and effect. All right. Broader historical context, yep, got that. Support an argument using at least four documents, because there's only 5 in the whole thing. So it's all or all but one. My suggestion, use them all. Use at least 2 additional pieces of specific historical evidence. This is an expansion. Previously it was 1, now it's 2. So they want you to have more external information, which is where the timeline comes in. For at least 2 documents, explain how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience is relevant to the arguments. That means you don't have to have all of them. Just one of the 4 for at least 2 documents. I would suggest doing more than 2, maybe 3 or 4 if you're crazy, but at least 2. And then this last one, use evidence to corroborate, qualify, or modify an argument that addresses the prompt. Basically, what you're looking at there is your standard, the extra credit point, if you will. So let's look at the question. Analyze the impacts of the Mongols on Eurasia during their conquest and domination during the 13th and 14th century. Okay, so you know who, where, and when. What are they looking for? Analyze the impacts. So you're looking at impact, and impact is another word for an effect. So it is cause and effect, most likely. You could maybe get away with doing a comparative one here too, but you don't have to. So there's a couple different ways you can go about it. Continuity and change over time, you could do. It seems like a bit of a stretch with this one. We also know we're talking about the Mongols, Eurasia, so we're talking about Europe and Asia during the 13th and 14th century. So you go, oh, well, 13th and 14th century, that's the 1200s and the 1300s. Even if they don't give you the time, the date inside the question, you can find the date from the document. So all the documents will be dated to 1307, 1238, so on and so forth. So that knowing when and where, let's go to the timeline. So I don't have this timeline filled out because, well, why would I do that? But here's the timeline. So we're looking at Europe in about here, 1200, South Asia, Central Asia, Mongols, East Asia, Middle East. So you're looking at these 5 regions in this time frame. Hopefully you will have put stuff in there. I'm going to assume that when I'm talking about material that all you put in is from the timeline in the book, which the first one for the Mongols on page 515. So you've got like the life of Genghis Khan, Mongol rule in China, Mongol rule in Russia, Mongol attacks on Eastern Europe, Mongol seizure of Baghdad. So all that's extra information that you could plug in to the DBQ to cover this point right here. 2 additional pieces of specific historical evidence beyond that found in the documents. I mean, it has to be relevant to the argument, but that's where it would come from. So if you have your timeline out, you've got all your extra information, you're like, okay, great, now let's look at the documents. All right, document 1. Letter sent to fellow Franciscan Christian friars who work as missionaries in the Black Sea area by Friar John, 1307, forwarded to Rome. Why is that important? Who's in Rome? The Pope. So he's sending the letter back home to the boss. So we already know the audience for this one, which would be the Pope. I, Friar John of Monte Corvino, what did he do? I'm not going to go into like reading each one of these documents, but basically in each one of them, I'm going to kind of give you a quick summary. Basically says he goes to the emperor of the Mongols in their capital, and he's a nice guy, but he wouldn't convert, but he built a church and blah, blah, blah. So basically this one's all about, hey, the Mongols are promising, we might be able to convert them. Okay. Think about the time period. This is 1307. What's going on in 1307 for the Christians? Crusades are over. They just lost. They're in a conflict with Islam. So you're looking at Islam versus Christianity.